This past weekend, I won my Spotlight local qualifier with Reiner Braun. I not only went undefeated throughout the event, I actually never dropped a single game. It was an absolutely dominant run, and I love, love, love this deck. I'll start off with like a 5-minute TLDR version of this deck profile where I go over the basic strategies, and then we'll go into detailed explanations through every single card. But basically, I'm running an all 4-check Reiner deck. And the reason why I'm running all 4 checks is I love this attack, Knockdown Blow, and I think Reiner is one of the perfect characters for this attack. This says that your next shift or Titan attack is going to get +3 to your check to pass it so that you can string out a lot of these Titan attacks. These are absolutely overpowered in Spotlight format because in Spotlight, there's not a lot of defense to deal with these very, very high speed and high damage moves. There's not nearly as much defense as there would be in standard to deal with it. So I find that these attacks are just overpowered. Second, they all check 4s, which means our early builds are extremely consistent. Also, because these are high speed, high damage, and we don't need to string out like 6 or 7, we can run a slightly smaller attack ratio than normal. I'm running 18 attacks in a 60 card deck. Typically, I would run like 20 attacks. You could honestly take this down to 17 or 16 attacks, and you would probably be just fine. So between a lower attack ratio, everything checking 4s, you're just going to build like crazy on your early turns. It adds a ton of consistency. That's going to help you transform Reiner Braun very, very quickly. Reiner is all about stage advantage. So we want to build as fast as possible the first couple turns. Then we're going to transform into the Armored Titan. We're going to obliterate our rival's stage, and we're just going to step on their throats. We're going to have a massive stage advantage for the rest of the game. Then we're going to play other cards to help out with this. While Reiner is going to ruin their face downs, we can play things like Final Words and Chomp to also destroy their face ups. And then the other thing that's going to help us really sprint in our early turn builds is that we don't need to keep cards to block, because Reiner has a lot of damage reduction on face, even on his human side, even more when he flips to his Titan and you have momentum. But the Chaos and Death symbols in Spotlight have a massive amount of damage reduction. So Squad Mate's Betrayal gets to say -3 damage, Futile Attempts, Rocky Alliance commit for minus damage, Willing Recruits to sacrifice for minus damage, I'm With You, when you destroy it, it gives minus damage. There's just so much damage reduction between Reiner and these foundations that we don't need to keep cards in hand to block. So we're going to sprint to 10 foundations. Our opponent's still going to be at 5 or 6. We're going to transform, and then we're just going to obliterate their stage. We're playing all of these massive attacks that our rival can't handle in Spotlight, to be perfectly honest, and eventually we'll win the game. We can also like pick up Knockdown Blow with female Titan attacks. We can pick it up with like Duplicious Recollection. I guess that's actually this is a good time to start the in-depth deck profile here, but that's the basic idea. Is I wanted to play a deck based around these massive Titan attacks, especially Knockdown Blow. So with Knockdown Blow, it is a punch. It's this 7/7 Titan attack. Your next check to play a backup or shift gets +3. If you play a shift attack this way, it gets +3 damage. So basically, this is a 4 difficulty attack that has 17 stats, which is more than 4 stats per difficulty. I think that's an insane ratio. One of the best cards in all of Attack on Titan. But what makes this even better, so we're running 4 of that, is female Titan attacks, which says Blitz, draw 1 card, 7 diff, 7/7, 4 check. All of this is already very, very good. We also get to ready a backup, which if we have a female Titan attacks in our stage, I'll show you the backup side, but the backup side gives plus speed. So we could like ready that for even more speed. But the biggest thing the backup side does is it says that you can lose 4 stamina, mill 2, choose a punch or kick attack in your discard pile and add it to your hand. And this is a form, so you can do this as your first form. Basically, I'll first form, I'll go grab a Knockdown Blow from my discard, I'll play a Knockdown Blow, and then I'll play this. It's on a 7/8, but I get +3 to my check. Let's say I check a 5, I just checked an 8, I passed it for free, and now it's a 7/10. So we hit him with a 7/7, and then we followed up with a 7/10. Female Titan is just nuts. I think it's probably the best backup attack that there is in Attack on Titan Spotlight. And it pairs perfectly with knockdown blow. There's not a lot of kick or punch attacks to go grab with it. I find a lot of spotlight decks just playing this for the draw and the ready, and they're not even playing this form ability on the backup. But this form ability on the backup is what makes this card so cracked. Also, we're playing 4 copies of Armored Titan. This is going to help us ruin our rival's stage even faster. It's an 8 diff, 8 mid 8. We're going to force them to flip one. The transform side of Reiner destroys face down foundations using the ruin mechanic. So we want them to have to flip everything. But also when you block with it, you get to build it. And then when you build it on the backup side, you get to lose 4 stamina and ruin 1. So one of my favorite plays in this deck was I'll build like 6, right? Because going second or going on my turn 1, going second, I'll build 6 and I'll hold like 1 copy of Armored Titan in my hand. And then I'll block with it. It's a 4 mid block modifier, but typically if we had to build 6, we can pass that check and then we'll build it down. And now we can start ruining our rival from the jump. We don't even have to transform before we're ruining them. So this plus Reiner's ruin mechanic, and we're absolutely going to obliterate their face down foundations. I'll put the backup sides of these down here. Then we got a couple copies of Ravages of War. This is also going to give us stage advantage. It's going to force a discard. They discard a momentum. It's a 2 high block. We have this cool response that we get to draw and they discard when we block with it, if we're blocking with it early on. But it's also just an 8 diff, 8 high, 8. Big fan. 2 copies felt about right though, because remember, knockdown blow, we're only giving 3 to our check for a shift or a Titan attack. So this is not a shift or a Titan. We don't want to run too many of those types of attacks. But I've got 2 copies of Jaw Titan attacks. You could take this higher if you like, but I'm really focusing in on just playing everything that's like base 7 or 8 speed. I'm absolutely not playing like a card like a large Titan attacks, which is 5 mid 5. This is at least a 6 low 6, gain 2 health. It's going to dunk on characters like Ymir, because when you build it, it says that you can cancel an ability that gains health, and then they can't do that for the rest of the turn, including character abilities. But it also just says lose 2 stamina, give something 2 speed. So we like to have one of these in our stage, but we're just playing a couple copies of that. And then I've got some one-ofs. I've got 1 Colossus Titan. I actually won 2 games off of Colossus Titan. Just one of my favorite plays actually was to go knockdown blow into knockdown blow. Now my next check to play a Shifter Titan gets +6. Now we're going to play Colossus Titan attacks. It's on a 12. If we check a 5, we really just checked an 11. That's crazy. It's also a throw. It also gets us momentum, which we need momentum for the Titan side of Reiner to take the damage down to 1 on one of their attacks. And if we build it in transformed, we're just saying good luck. We win on our next turn unless you attack this thing, because it says this crazy form, lose 6 stamina, your rival discards 2 cards and flips 2 foundations. That is why we are running the 1 copy of Colossus. You probably don't want to take this to a 2, but absolutely do not leave it out of your deck. And then I got a copy of Duplicious Recollection. You could probably take this out and just go to 17 attacks in your 60 card deck. But the reason I have this in here, even though it's a 5 low 6, so kind of weak stats for a Titan attack, but it says Blitz, choose a backup or shift attack card with printed difficulty 7 or less, and then you get to build it. So basically Duplicious just says pick up knockdown blow, right? I'll pick this up, I'll build in a female Titan, and then I'll form female Titan, pick up knockdown blow, play knockdown blow. So that's the reasoning for this here. It didn't do a lot throughout the tournament. I would probably cut it looking back on it, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's basically 6 low 6 with the stun 1. So it's like the stats of Jaw Titan, except for +1 difficulty. We get to go and pick up knockdown blow, which actually is going to take away like 3 from a difficulty. So the appeal is there, but I think a 1-of is probably about right. And that's a pretty simple attack package. You know, we're really just focused on Armored Titan, female Titan attacks, and knockdown blow. Knockdown blow is the key to winning your games. All right, now let's move to how we're establishing a dominant stage position. Reiner and the Armored Titan attacks are going to be... Oh, do we have an armored? Okay, we have an armored here. Reiner and the Armored Titan attacks are going to be nuking their face down foundations. but we also need a way to take down their face-up foundations, and that's where Chomp comes in. We're running 4 copies of Chomp. This, we just play it and we destroy a rival foundation of difficulty 2 or less. What I love to do here is even going first. Like, let's say I'm going second on my turn 1. My rival built 4 foundations going first. That's a pretty average build. Well, I'll play Chomp. I'll take him down to 3. And then because all my stuff checks 4s and I have a lot of 6 checks, then I'm going to probably build 5 from there. And right away, I have a 5-3 stage advantage, and I'm already starting ahead of my rival. One of my favorite plays of the evening was when I had a Chomp in my hand, because I thought, well, it's a good block. It didn't seem like the right time to play it the turn before, and I can always just hold it and then Chomp them on my next turn. Then I drew 2 more Chomps, and I went triple Chomp, and from there, my rival just never recovered their stage position, and I won the game quite easily. So the final words is similar to Chomp, but not quite as good, because it does take a turn cycle before you can use it. So first you have to build it, right? Then your rival has a turn. Then on your next turn, you have to keep it ready, and then you have to form with it. So it's a little bit slow, which is why I'm only running 2 copies of it. But it felt so good because you can destroy anything, not just 2 difficulty or below. We can destroy like their sacrifice for the cause, or a powerful 3 difficulty foundation. I probably would take this to a 3, and I'm running Smiling Death right now at a 3. I probably would go and take it down to a 2. But again, Reiner, we're blowing up their face down foundations, and so Smiling Death is just going to help us make sure that their stage is face down. Again, I'd probably take this to a 2 and use that extra resource to go to more damage reduction or another copy of Final Words. But that is how we are going to establish a dominant stage position. And then it's all about the damage reduction on the foundations. We don't want to be holding cards in hand to block with, especially early, because we are trying to rush our stage to 9 or more foundations so that we are transforming on our terms. By the time we transform, I want to be at 10. I want my rival to be at like 6. And then I transform and I can start the destruction process from there. Okay, a lot of these foundations also check 6s. I think we have 12 6 checks. We have Squadmate's Betrayal. We have Swallowed by an Abnormal as a 6 check. And then we have this Display of Might as a 6 check. So 12 6 checks in a 60 card deck. That's a 20% 6 check ratio. You're going to check them pretty often. But Squadmate's Betrayal just says flip for -3 damage. Then when it's face down, we can just blow it up to have them ruin one. With Reiner, we get Futile Attempts. This is commit for -3 damage. It is a first enhance, but we don't really care about that too much. The point is that it's repeatable, right? This is a one-time use, but this is repeatable. Rocky Alliance is similar. It's 1 less difficulty than Futile Attempts, but it also reduces 1 less damage. It's just commit for -2 damage. And then we have Willing Recruits, where we can blow up 2 foundations, sacrifice 2 foundations. This attack gets -3 damage. One of my favorite combos with this is to combo it with a foundation like I'm With You, a 1 difficulty foundation that says remove after this card enters the discard pile. This attack gets -2 damage. So basically, if we removed, and this is after this attack enters the discard pile, meaning this can be face down and we can still use that response. So if we use Willing Recruits and we blow up 2 of these, that's -7 damage total. That's nuts. So 2 copies of Willing Recruits. You could take this up to a 3 if you want. Again, you might want to take out a Smiling Death and put in a 3rd copy of Willing Recruits. Then we got all of these I'm With Yous. At any point, this is a huge amount of damage reduction. Even with our character, if we destroy it, -2 damage, then we respond, and now it was -4 damage. You do have to be careful with Smiling Death in this, because when you're face up Reiner, you sacrifice a foundation and then you build it back. But these remove as cost, so you cannot build them back whenever you sacrifice. But you're going to be sacrificing a lot. And then we have Annie's Gamble, just 2 copies. We need tenacious foundations, honestly. Since we're going to be committing a good number of foundations once we're ready to go in, typically you are not attacking on turn 2 in this deck. You are just sprinting to where you can transform and establish a good stage position. So we're not going to be attacking early, other than maybe like 1 attack just to, like 1 female or 1 armor, just to go ahead and get the backups in your stage. Because armored, you're going to commit some resources to pass it, but it's also going to hurt your rival's resources. So I'm okay with like playing one attack early if it's a backup, because you're always, even if they block it, you're getting some sort of benefit for having played the attack. But you're not going to go on a serious attack string until much later in the game, turn 4, turn 5. And this is going to help us really pass like 5 Titan attacks in a single turn. Just the fact that we can commit this and then remove it and give +1 to a check. This would be terrible in standard, but in Spotlight, it's good. We have to work with what we have. We can't be picky. We can't be picky eaters here. Then we have Eaten by the Bearded Titan. We can commit this to help pass our checks, but we still have defense in our stage because we can sacrifice it for -3 speed. I have 1 copy of Titan's Pursuit because momentum is very, very important to the Titan side of Reiner so that we can reduce the damage to 1 of a rival attack. And a lot of our attacks are these backups that we don't want to be putting in our momentum. So I was a little worried that I would be in situations where I had no momentum. It ended up not being too bad because all of these are unique. So you can't have 2 of them in your stage. Knockdown blows, if they're not blocked, will still go to your momentum. Ravages of War, for example, Duplicitous Recollection. So we have 7 non-backup 4-check attacks that you could put your momentum instead of switching to a Titan side. So my fear never really became a reality, but I had 1 copy of Titan's Pursuit. I thought maybe I would take it to a 2. In hindsight, I'm glad I had it at a 1. 1 felt just about perfect because I really don't have momentum outlets in my attacks. I don't have anything with EX or powerful. The only reason I want momentum is for this. So 1 momentum is perfectly fine. We do not need 2 or 3 momentum. This is not a momentum ramp deck. Then we have Swallowed by an Abnormal. It's just flip for +1/+1 on all of our attacks, since all of our attacks are 6 difficulty or greater. But the biggest reason, it's just a 6 check. It's a spam 6 check. Same thing with Display of Might. It's just a spam 6 check. We can flip it Tenacious and draw a card when we play something with 8 difficulty or greater. So we have Colossus, we have 4 Armor Titan, we have 2 Ravages of War. That gives us 7 attacks that this could go off with. That's not a huge amount. It's not going to be the most consistent draw in the world, if at all, but it's a 6-check spam foundation, and it's a 2 high block. Like, what more could you ask for? And then we have 4 copies of Horrifying Realization. Just form, discard 1, draw 1. So if we don't have the right hand or we need just that 1 more attack, we can go look at it at form speed before we even start our attack turn. It's just the best of the remaining spam foundations. And that's going to do it. That is the 60 cards in the deck. It's not that complicated. It's really not. It's just a, build. I build faster than you. I destroy your stage. I play big attacks. I pass my big attacks because of knockdown blow. And then you die. And that's the basis. That's really it. That is the deck. So a typical attack string, right, would look like, okay, I'll go knockdown blow, and then I'll go like female Titan, and then we'll go another knockdown blow because we used our female Titan to go grab 1. So if we had 1 in our hand, now we can always go grab a second. So it would be very, very common for me to play 2 knockdown blows in a single turn. And then we could play something small like Jaw Titan maybe to guarantee pass the check. And then possibly we can pass 1 more attack of some sort at the end. But typically 4 or 5 attacks is pretty crazy when in Spotlight our rival doesn't have answers for 7-speed moves. And these could be even faster if we have like a Jaw Titan in our stage to give 2 speed, and then this re-readies it and we can give another 2 speed here. So it doesn't take a long attack string at all to start dealing some serious damage. Everything checks 4s as well, so we can pass a lot more of these than you think. We have it's a very consistent deck because of the 4 checks. Our early builds are going to be ultra consistent, and then when we play attacks, it's going to be pretty consistent. And we can play a lower attack ratio, which means we have a very good chance of checking even a 5 or a 6 in the deck. So I was a little worried that the Titan deck was going to be difficult with Reiner because now I can't, you can't like play 5 attacks and constantly ruin them. Reiner needs to be a little more proactive now post errata, since I can't ruin on my rival's turn. I can't just sit back, depend on them playing attacks and then I get to ruin them. I have to be playing attacks. But really, with Knockdown Blow, you can play a ton of attacks. And one of the best things about these backup attacks is that they always transform even when blocked. So you can just play your female Titan, get the benefit of drawing a card, and then it goes into your stage, and then you get the benefit of Knockdown Blow later. So you didn't really have to commit. At worst, you committed 3 foundations in order to draw and get a Knockdown Blow on a future turn. That's not bad at all. And that is the deck. So let me know what you think. Do you think this deck is one of the best Spotlight decks out there? You know, can it hang with like a Smiling or a Hanj as the other best players of like 4-check Tribal in Spotlight? Is it going to get even better in Attack on Titan Set 2? Are they going to give us even more damage reduction in Set 2? Are they going to give us more 4-check attacks? I already feel like 4-check attacks might have been a mistake. They might just be too powerful for the game, make your builds too consistent. They're just doing too much, in my opinion. So I'm a little worried about more coming out in Set 2. But who knows? Local Qualifier was a blast. Really enjoyed the Spotlight format. I'm looking forward to Set 2, shaking up the Spotlight format a little more. I appreciate you guys if you stuck around for this entire deck profile, and I'll see you next time.